So tonight our speaker is a long-established member of the club, Wez Murch, who's going to talk about XC flying. So I guess he doesn't really need any introduction, but here he is, Wez Murch. And I'm sure...
Yeah, all yours, mate. Look at my phone music playing now. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about XC flying, and if you're like a beginner and you're in the room, or if you're on Zoom and you have a question, maybe pop it over, and Sean's running the Zoom. He might just speak and let me know that there's a question. I don't want to label on too much because I've done a couple of XC talks. It's going to pretty much be about how I fly XC, but I want it to be a bit more interactive, and you guys ask any questions, even if you're more experienced at XC, why I do it that way. Call me an idiot because I do it that way if you want. I mean, if you've got any contributions, that's how I want this to sort of be, rather than me just giving a talk to the club and you have to sit and listen to someone dribble on about XC. Ask questions. So yeah, let's go. Sean can skip to the next one, the next slide, and we'll get into XC flying. So first of all, what is XC flying? And it's obviously cross-country, right? Cross-country flying. Now, for certain people, it'll be many different things. Like paragliding, obviously, in itself is a plethora of different things. Some of our best pilots in the Southwest don't even go XC flying. You'll see them on hills, and you'll speak to them regularly at the same hill doing the same thing, and they're incredible pilots, and their name might not be as recognised, or they might not be as recognisable because they don't go cross-country flying. So in the paragliding itself is so diverse, cross-country flying as well is really diverse. So is there anyone here in attendance who hasn't gone cross-country or is aspiring to go cross-country? And you guys want to go cross-country, yeah? Yeah, and so what is it for you? What's the draw for you? Why do you want to go cross-country?
I think I have to spend a lot of time stuck on the hill and cruising up and down, etc., and learning about how to.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, cross-country flying was about the adventure when I first started, and now I'm like really competitive. So I never, because I spent my career as a competitive athlete, I never want that to be in my paragliding. But now it is, in that I don't fly cross-country paragliding to be a better pilot than the person next to me. I probably fail at doing that, so I fly with a lot of incredible pilots. I fly cross-country because if there's 200 kilometers in the day and I've not flown 200 kilometers, I want to know why, you know. Or if I've set a goal of 160 kilometers and I haven't flown 160 kilometers, what did I do wrong? What were the decisions that I made? So it's not about, for me, being better than anyone. It's about getting the best out of the day. I think that's the greatest thing for me. The adventure is absolutely amazing, and it's daunting as well. Some people in the questions in the week, when they were asking questions, stated that it was a bit daunting how to get back and all the things that go into it. Hopefully we can touch on that. But for me, it was adventure, because paragliding in itself is amazing. You get to experience flight, which for millennia people have dreamed of, right? So it's absolutely brilliant we get to fly, but cross-country, we push those boundaries a little bit more, you know. On this little rag of mine, can I go as far as I can get to? And then when you start getting more into it, you pick a place to go to, and you actually fly to that place and get yourself home safely. That's an amazing thing to do, and amazing thing to share. So what does cross-country paragliding involve? Obviously, turn up to a hill, take off, fly as far as you can, get back home again. Right? That's bog standard, simple. The bit where I get probably most questions, and the bit where it varies for everybody, is the preparation and planning that go into XC flying. So that's the bits that we're going to touch on and go a bit more in depth. So Sean, if you can skip to the next slide, and we're going to have a look at preparation and planning. First and foremost, when does your preparation and planning start? So if you're going to fly, this next few days looks quite flyable. So when would your preparation and planning start for, let's say, cross-country tomorrow? Yeah, that's right. About 2 days ago, I would say. It really started the last time I flew, right? You land, you think, what's the weather looking like? When can I fly next? You know, but like realistically, the planning, as soon as you know it's flyable, that's where your planning starts. You straight away you think, right, okay, it's going to be flyable Friday.
So the very first thing I do with all of my flying, as soon as I get in from a flight, all of my stuff goes on charge. The moment I get in, if I'm dying for a wee, I charge everything first. Everything goes in its respective charging cables and it goes on charge. Then I go and have a wee, or I empty my camel back, or take the rubbish out of my bag after I've done all those things. However, if I haven't, as soon as I know it's flyable, the very first thing I do is go and put everything on charge. Right? Make sure everything's prepared. And that's step one. Yeah. Step two will obviously be it's flyable, the weather looks good. Where are we flying from? What does the weather tell us? Where are we going to fly from? So picking your site will probably be my next big thing of where I'm going to go. And that can come from 2 days out. I'm looking at generally the wind might swing, a few different options, but we're going to have, if it's from the south, I know I'm now limited to Mere or some Thames Valley sites or maybe South Wales. So then I just keep an eye on the weather and decide this is where I'm going to fly from. That's the decision I made. And the decisions that I make, so when I say that, it says there, what decisions are important to a successful flight? I put that here simply because I really think that making those decisions a few days before, what hill you're going to go to, charging all your kit up, making sure your camelback's clean, all this stuff, they really help to have it done well in advance. Making decisions like that on the day, on the morning, will put you 30 minutes behind, let's say. And being 30 minutes behind when your other pilots aren't waiting for you now, and you've got to rush to the hill, will make a huge difference. So those decisions that are important to a successful flight, for me, are all the things that I've said. Pick the right hill. Check who's going. Make a plan with other pilots. Am I going to go on my own? Okay, I'm going to go on my hill, to the hill on my own because nobody's got a spare seat for me. But realistically, what I'll do is I'll go on one of my groups on Telegram and I'll say, who's out on Friday? Friday looks good, right? As soon as you post it on the group, yeah, I'm going out Friday, and I'll try and link up with as many people as I can. A, because it makes retrieve way easier, especially if I don't have to drive to the hill. But B, because fuel, get into the hill, having other people to say, oh, actually, I looked at the weather as well, and bounce ideas off each other. All of these things early on in your XC planning make a huge difference. And even now, I guess after you've done as many as XCs as I do, I still do the same things. It hasn't changed. It's not, oh, the more experience, the less you think about it. My process stays the same. It's been the same from I started. It's the same now. The same weather forecast checks, the same posts on Telegram to the same group, or who's going to Selsley and someone comes back. I haven't changed my process at all. So all of these little things I think are the beginning of making a successful XC flight. So Sean, you skip. So the planning and preparation, how I go about it. So the very first thing I do is I check weather. There's lots of different weather apps and forecasts, and there's lots of input. And then someone like Ken comes on and tells you your decision was rubbish anyway. And then before you know it, Sid's getting thrown down the pipe. That's the way it goes. But there's lots of different ways of like describing the weather and looking at the weather. And if you're a beginner in cross-country flying, I think the best approach is the approach I still have now, and Alex Coltman, like people like Alex Coltman, Tim Carr, Wayne Seeley, have all been fundamental in me being the pilot that I am now, because I've copied things that they do. Alex is very much like me in that, look, if you can get the time off work and it's definitely not raining, or light rain maybe, or definitely not raining, the wind's okay, what am I doing at home thinking about I should have gone flying? To the hill. That is literally my thought process. It's not raining, I can go, I'm going. That simple. And it doesn't, I'll put a 200k goal in and it might be 30k in the day, but I've flown 30k where I would have been sat at home thinking I wish I'd gone flying. So for a young XC pilot, the most important thing is don't get all caught up with all these weather forecasts telling you that it's going to do this, it's going to do that. Oh, but SkySight said this, although RASP said this. Literally have it in your head. I can go tomorrow. It looks like it could work. Go. Go and be lucky, try and be lucky. However, the way that I plan weather, my process, what I do. The very first thing I look at, and I only look at these couple of options in this process. First of all, XC weather. It's the first thing I look at. And it'll literally be from the moment I land, I'll like pack up, when I'm on the train, whatever, I look on XC weather. 20 gusting 39 for 4 days, I'm not even bothering to check RASP. Like, it's probably, XC weather is not the most reliable, but really, if it's in 20 gusted 39, it's probably not going to come down enough that I could fly, right? So I'm probably not even going to think about it to look at RASP. However, it shows a window, it's marginal, it might be super light. So let's look into this. So go onto a site called Lazy RASP. So if you don't know about RASP, it's literally just type in Lazy RASP into Google, and it shows you a 5-day forecast, I think, of RASP, and each day has 3 sections. Let's say, these aren't the exact times, but let's say 8 a.m., 12.
This meeting is being recorded.
Exactly the same parameters: star rating, thermal updraft, wind. I'll pop it onto star rating, which I think is massively overused as well, star rating, but I'll pop it onto star rating and I'll look over the 5 days. I'll think, oh, actually Wednesday looks like it might be all right. So that's when I'll start to dig deeper. As soon as I see a little glimmer of hope in Wednesday, I'll then go into the normal RASP and start to dissect what Wednesday's looking like. And one of the first things that I go to, over star rating, I go thermal updraft velocity. Thermal updraft velocity, then I go for stuff like blanket, layer wind, and all these little fundamental parts that are going to make it key. Because it's okay looking at the wind on XC weather and stuff, or looking at surface wind on the BBC, but I need to know what the wind's doing where I want to go, right? That's an important part of planning my XC. So I start to dissect it then into RASP. And then what I will do then is I'll look at a weather forecast site, it's not on there, sorry, called XC Power. And what it is, it's RASP basically, but with all paragliding sites dotted over the top of it. So you can look on there and you can say, oh, well, that looks really good, but I don't know what that site is. And you can click on the site and it tells you exactly what site it is, what wind direction it takes, whether it's going to be flyable, and then you can start to zoom in on places where you maybe haven't flown before. From there, I'll check windy and I'll just triangulate all 3 of those weather forecasts. I never rely on RASP. I think RASP can be hugely unreliable. XC weather is probably the least reliable of all of them that I use. And windy is my backup, basically, to hopefully my forecast will sit somewhere between the 3. So if XC weather says it's looking perfect, amazing, I won't just run out the door. Okay, let's just check RASP. Oh, they sort of tally up. Windy looks crap. Well, I'll ignore windy today, then I'll follow the other 2. And conversely, if one of them looks good and the other 2 look rubbish, I'll still probably go out in the fact that one of them did. But it will literally only be, you're telling me the direction, the speed, and the thermal updraft velocity or the star rating. So there's those things. I pay no attention then to the Cape, this, that. If I'm planning a huge XC, 200 kilometers, and I want to see how the day's deteriorating, I might then start to look at other factors, like will there be some convergence and I can eke out an extra 30K gliding on the convergence. But what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to talk myself out of flying. So if the day looks to me like I could fly an XC today, I am 100% going XC flying. And then I'll look at what I think the day can hold. They can hold 150K, I'm setting 150K goal. And we say, oh, that's ambitious. Well, let's bomb at 120. So what, right? It's not, I've gone out and I've flown that day. So I set the parameters by which they're going to get me out of the house. As soon as I know they're going to get me out of the house, dissect it down a little bit more. Is it?
When you say it's going to be 120K day, you must have got some of that from the information.
Yeah, exactly. So if say I'm looking at RASP and I want to go really basic and not go into, I'll look at how much the star rating is deteriorating throughout the day. And if the star rating throughout the day massively starts to deteriorate around 3 p.m. and by 4 p.m. your 4-star day is now down to a 1-star day, I'm thinking, oh, that's strange, what's going on there? So then I'll look a little bit more in depth and I'll look at maybe OD or cloud cover or something along these. And if there's a big bank of cloud averaging to come in, I'm probably going to say, I'm not going to risk that they're wrong. I'm going to go to 120K and miss that big bank of cloud. And I'll be happy that I've hit 120K goal. But I will only get to that if I'm really dissecting it down. all I'm looking for really is today's flyable, I'm going out flying. From there, I'll try and maximize my day. Unless, like last year when I was trying to score, everything had to be minimum of 150 declared. If it wasn't 150 declared, it's not worth going on the league. So I'm not even looking. Like, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go out anyway. So stuff, I'm going to put 150K in because anything under that's not going to score me anyway. So there's no point. So if you're beginning, your weather forecast, in my opinion, should literally be, is it raining? Is it suitable? As in, it's not too windy, it's not too, can I get the time off work? That should be your weather forecasting, in my opinion. And then from there, you shouldn't talk yourself out of going flying in the, oh, it's saying it's going to be 2 miles an hour over what really somebody said I shouldn't fly it more than 16 miles an hour and it's looking like it's big. Go to the hill. The worst comes to the worst. It's not costing you money and you're not having a day off work. And if you can go to the hill, go to the hill. How does this feel? Well, this feels actually, don't pilot say they're flying. This feels okay for me. I feel like I'll be all right with it. Take off and fly. Stop letting predictions and other people's opinions in whether that they've flown in. Stop letting that put you off of getting out of the house and onto the actual hill. Fly in as many variable conditions as you can, varying different conditions on varying hills, and experience what a prediction of 15 miles an hour feels like to you sit on a hill, as opposed to it's going to be 15 miles an hour, that's too much for me to fly. Or people go and they stand with a wind meter and they'll post a picture. Oh, it's 18 miles an hour on West Bray, it's too much. Well, was that in a thermal cycle? Or is it coming over the spur? How are you stood? Is it 18 consistently for the last hour? Like you've basically told me nothing. That's worse information to me than the weather forecast. So I've got now a 5-second snippet of time of which I have to base my whole day on, which is useless. So be at the hill, be the person who stands next to the guy with the wind meter, even if you don't know how to use them. If you've not got any XC experience, be stood next to them, see if they go, well, that's too much. And then question it. Say in your head, say like, well, hang on a minute, you've done that once. Let's keep doing that for an hour now, every 5 minutes or whatever it may be. Set yourself some parameters and find out what's suitable for you, how you want to assess the day. As soon as you start making those assessments and flying in varying conditions, your tolerance will change. And listen, you might take off in conditions one day and realize this is over my limit, I shouldn't have taken off, but you might take off in conditions and think, oh, I can push further than this. It's not as bad as I thought. You're not going to know that until you fly. And I've turned up to a few hills and no one's flying. And I look and I'm like, oh, you're okay. You fly PwCs, you fly comps. I'm like, no, it's really okay. This isn't that. And I'm stood on takeoff and ground handling my wing. I take off and I launch. 8 pilots take off. I'm like, your assessment's not changed. You've taken off because I've decided it's okay to fly. You don't know what I'm experiencing under my wing. You know, you have to just turn up. You have to make assessments. You have to fly. And the more you do that, the better you're going to be to make the decision of whether today is an XC flying day. And for me, every day. Yesterday, I said, I'm going flying on Friday. I hadn't even checked the weather. I got the day off work, like most people. Today, I would have gone flying if I would have been at work. But I would have got nowhere. But if I'd got 30K, I'd have flown 30K today. I'd have learned something new from my flying. I'd have landed somewhere different, maybe. And I'd have been out flying. And if I'm a young XC pilot, that's going to be a massive contribution to your future XCs. So that's my weather planning. I'm not saying do it that way. You do your way. My biggest contribution to this is don't let people who are sharing screenshots from the internet dictate where you go flying or whether you go flying. Of course, don't make stupid decisions and don't go flying in thunderstorms. But last year we had 3 really, really experienced comp pilots. They flew on a day when there were showers. And I mean, I'm literally saying showers. It was blocks of rain here or there. And there was uproar all over the internet about people flying in conditions. People have to realize my conditions or extreme conditions are not going to be the same as your conditions or your extreme conditions. If you learn to fly in the Alps, the chances are you've probably flown in a lot worse conditions than people who learn to fly with Lear cloud base, right? It's just,
that's the way it is. If you learn to fly in Pusey or you learn to fly in the Himalayas, your understanding of weather and your tolerance for weather is going to be completely different. So just make sure you're not being put off or scared by numbers. Another big one with star rating. I didn't want to label on this point either. Another big one on star rating. I've heard someone who I think can be a potentially good XC pilot talk himself out of going flying because he actually said, it's 5-star day. No, I'll wait for something better, like a 3-star day. Well, that 3-star day could be downgraded because of wind or wind shear or other factors. It may not have nothing to do with the thermal updraft. It's literally, it's a lot windier. It's not as nice that day. The thermal updraft strength's just as powerful, but you've got it in your head that these colors, green means good and red means bad. So you've taught yourself out of going flying and you're building all your days up. The next 5-star day, you go running out and you launch into one of the worst, powerfulest, strongest spring thermals just off takeoff. And there's very little wind and you get some huge collapse or this big stonking lift that you didn't want to get in. You have to start being on the hill and experiencing what 5-star relates to, because I've been out on 5-star days and couldn't even get off the hill or end up in the bottom landing field because they've been crap. It's literally a case of look at the weather, see is it flyable, get out and go flying. Is there anybody in like here who does anything different with their, anything that I haven't touched on? And you say, well, actually, Wes, I use this, or why you use something different?
No, that was last Saturday at Westbury.
Yeah.
It was red.
Yeah.
On grass, it was red everywhere.
Yeah.
And actually, when we all turned up, we looked at the sky. It was telling me, yes, on a red sky. This but actually, when you took off, it was average.
Yeah.
It was average-ish afternoon at Westbury. So a lot of things you said just apply to ordinary general flying.
Yeah, yes. That's exactly it. I mean, it's so for me, the most dangerous flying that you can partake in is ridge soaring, hill soaring, right? That's the most dangerous flying because you're close to the ground and close to other pilots. It's really dangerous. So if you're taking off on a 5-star day without the intention of going XC, the chances are you're putting yourself in a lot more danger the longer you spend bashing around the ridge. That's why what I try and do is take off, get in the first climb, get as high as I can and go. That's my, I don't want to be on the hill with everybody bumbling around to try and get in one thermal. And conversely, the other week we went to Selsley and we were going, we had a big task and everyone said like, have you got that task? I'm like, yeah, like look, we've got 30K day probably, but what, let's not put it in. We ended up flying to Westbury. Rob was there. It didn't look great at Selsley. Nothing was really kicking off. Nobody really expected much. We took off. It was absolutely freezing. So on the radio in the air, I said to the guys, no, Lawrence came on. He said, guys, I'm absolutely frozen. Like, should we divert to Westbury? Like, yeah, let's land at Westbury because I knew there'd be pilots there, right? Which is a nice retrieve. So I went onto Telegram in the air and I was like, can anyone give us a lift back from Westbury? Everyone ignored me. So I was like, oh, let's just go to Westbury anyway. It was easy. It was so easy to get to Westbury, right, Rob?
It was, yeah.
Super easy, like overcasty in places, really crap looking sky, big dark patches. I'll aim to them. I'll get some lift. But it was a day that realistically, I think we could have quite easily made Swanage or somewhere. I think the day was working fine. It looked crap. It did look rubbish. So you've got to get out, experience the day, take off and fly the conditions, yeah? So that's me. That's the labouring, all the labouring I want to do on weather, really, unless you guys have got questions throughout the process and you want to ask them, then I'll answer any questions. Yeah.
So you mentioned about you look at angular wind.
Yeah.
Are you looking just at direction or are you looking at scope as well?
Everything. Yeah. So people will be shocked that they get to base and their arrows pointing this way and their wings flying this way. Yeah, but it's southerly and it's southerly, like on the ground. It's not in the air. And conversely, people will cut their flight short because they thought, oh, well, I can only get this far, or I'm not going to be able to get around airspace. And the wind's like degrees off of that. So the very first thing, the next step in my process, when I know where I'm going, angular wind, straight away. Look at that, because that's where I want to spend most of my time. Right? It's like, I want to be up as high as I can for as long as I can. And I want to know if it's a full bar day or if it's like a day where I'm going to be plodding, or if the wind's going to be hoiking me along. If there's only 4 usable hours in the day, I'm thinking, right, okay, 4 usable hours, let's just stick it to about 120K. Oh, hang on a minute though. The wind's 20 miles an hour up in the air. If I just put a bar, it says actually, let's eat this out. I might get 150 today, even though it's only 4 hours. And I'll literally decide where my goal is going to be based on the boundary layer wind as opposed to the wind on ground level. And also, I'll look at so RASP has like a 2 meter, 10 meter wind, you know, different height winds. Think about the hill that you're taking off of, how tall's the hill you're taking off of. Don't go to Taliban if it's 12 miles an hour from the south, but definitely go to Mir. People go, oh, south, like southeast or something. I'm going to go to Taliban. Well, at 6 miles an hour, Taliban's pretty bloody blowing, right? So at 12 miles an hour, you're not launching on Taliban. Same with Hay Bluff. Like Hay Bluff, you think, well, I can take some wind. Yeah, get to 10 miles an hour, maybe it'll be okay. Get to 11 miles an hour, you're probably struggling to take off now. 12 miles an hour, you're probably not going to fly Hay Bluff today. So you have to look at the height of the hill, the terrain below the hill, everything where you're going to launch, and then pick your site accordingly. The best site for the day of the air mass might not be this site, but you have to go to this site because it's too windy to go to the next one. Don't find yourself on the wrong hill because you're looking at the just a glimpse. Oh, it's 5 to 6 miles an hour. Boom. We had that on Mir the other day. I don't know if any of you guys were actually there. We turned up on Mir and it was forecast 8 to 10 or something. We turned up there, Alex and I was like, it is bloody howling. And we had a good XC in the end, but it was strong, really strong on launch, and it was saying 8 to 10 miles an hour for the day. Look, how you flew that day from Milk, right? Yeah. How was it in Milk? Yeah, it was pretty strong. Like I was a little bit. Alex and I turned up, and he's like, the first thing Alex said was, "How long's it been like this for?" Nearly blown out, and it was really strong. So we get kit up, and we want to get in the air as quick as we can, so that it doesn't, in case it increases. So don't just have it in your head. I'm going out flying because I can. It's sort of within the parameters, and then go to the hill. And if you're really cautious and you're not sure, don't take your wing out of the car. If you walk across the hill with your wing in your hand and someone else takes off, the chances are you'll take off. If you walk across the hill on a day where you're slightly not too sure and you haven't got the wing in your hand, and you look at the hill and you're stood there and you feel it, you think, feels a bit strong. Even if someone takes off, you might be a little bit more reluctant to go back to your car and get your bag and come back to the hill. And that reluctance, it might not be the right thing, but it's definitely not going to be the wrong thing. The moment you start to question, you can say, I'm going to go and get the walk back to the car might be enough for you to say, you know what, it's not right for me, actually, I'm not going to do it. Or you might talk yourself into it, you might going to have a great day. So that's my advice. So when you get to a hill and you're a little bit shall I, shan't I, leave your bag in the car, walk across, talk to some people, and then go back and get your kit out afterwards. Okay, next slide. Oh, it's rubbish at this, isn't it?
Wes,
Yeah.
can you, when somebody asks a question from the audience, can you repeat the question for the group? Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, right. So, wind's looking good. All my stuff's charged up. Everything's great. Where to go? How do I pick my site? So this is the app that I'm sure most people in here know this app, right? If you're just starting out, you might not. No, sorry, not app, this website. Do you know this website? You FlyXC, yeah. So this is FlyXC, right? Absolutely amazing piece of kit, responsible for loads of successful XCs. I will go into FlyXC. I can't use it. If you click this button here, it'll bring down a list of parameters. In those parameters, I'll always put airways on straight away. First, when I'm in a zoomed out review of this, first of all, for the simple reason, it's way easier to find the site. So I put airways on, I put airspace on, and I put airspace on it under 1,500 feet, really. Okay, you can go 1,500 meters, sorry. You can go up to 2,000 meters, but I think everything 1,500 meters, 4.5 grand-ish, that's usable. If it's under that, and like it's going to be 3,500 feet, that'll show anyway. So I'm happy with that. If you go up to like 2,000, listen, I'm not worried. Once I plan my route, I'll know if there's something 6.5 grand. And even if I haven't noticed it and I take off, I can easily not use 6.5 grand 100% of the time that I'm flying, right? The other day when I flew down to, flew from Selsley down to by Arundel, I got trapped this bit of airspace down here. Takes you, there's a bit here you can use, it's 4,500 feet. And I didn't want to go over 4 marks because everyone bombs at 4 marks. It's like, I've never made this flight from Selsley to the coast. I've never made it. I bomb every time. And I've heard of people bombing at 4 marks all the time. So like this block of airspace here is 4,500 feet. So we know it's really cool. You can get under that, even on a 6,000 feet day. It's big enough you could push full bar through there and you're going to get a boomer afterwards because it's a 6-round day. And I went over 4 marks, so I saw the fire, and I'm flying obviously downwind, and the smoke is coming towards me. I was like, I'm in, definitely. So I get over 4 marks and I get a boomer. It risks me to the class D over Farnborough. So I'm now trapped under 3,500 feet. Get to 3,500. I'm looking thinking, can I dribble like in and out of the thermal and just lose like stay in it? I was too far in, so I had to get on bar and get past it. Got past it, didn't get a climb, bombed. Bombed just after that climb. That's my last climb of the day, and I bombed just afterwards because of that little bit of airspace. Realistically, I should have been more vigilant. I shouldn't have been so cocky, and I should have said, no, I'm not going to head to the far, or I'll head to the far, just have to push me back west a little bit more to clear that bit of airspace. But without a booming day, I was certain, if I get to 3.5 here, I can leave and I'll get another climb. I didn't, shouldn't have been so cocky. So this here allows you to look at all of that. Zoom in, you can click on all those bits of airspace that are along your route. And then, you can like find out what they are, if they're active, etc. Go and check NOTAM info, see if there's anything on the NOTAM info side that plots around this graph. That's all that I'll put on there pretty much. I won't put any other information on my selection point because I want my map to be as clear as possible. And then along here, I'll drop where I want to take off. So let's say, for instance, I know that's the Malverns. So I'll put up the Malverns. I want to fly to Carmarthen. So I put there to there. It tells me how far my flight's going to be. You can put in an average speed and tell you how long it'll take you to do the flight. I never bother. The flight will take me what it'll take me based on the wind and stuff. That's not really going to give me a true reading of that. So I literally come into here, select where I want to take off and where I want to fly to. As soon as I've done it, I'll hit the share button. From the share button, I can either share it as a link, which is generally what I do. I put it on the group and wait for people to tell me I'm wrong or someone to add something or take a few kilometers off. And then, or gives you a little QR code. You can scan it and it goes straight to your instrument, Fly Sky High or XC Track. I'll scan it. That's me. That's a declared flight straight away. And everything on my desktop, put it in my phone. Boom. Also, I can go on my phone and change it on the hill, and I can press share to or open an XC Track. Open an XC Track, and I'm ready to fly for the day. Scan it with the phone. So this is my.
Wes, it's really good plan to check how to do that. It is quite tricky at times.
What's that, sorry, mate? Which aspect?
The aspect of actually getting it to Fly Sky High.
Yeah. I mean, so now that you've got the QR codes, Fly Sky High's changed now, in that Fly Sky High will read QR codes from XC Track, and XC Track will read QR codes from Fly Sky High.
That's easy.
That's easy, that bit. So it depends. Lots of people fly with obviously different phones and stuff, So now, even if you go into Fly Sky, to get the QR code, scan it, or on this app, on this website, go on the QR code and Fly Sky High will scan it straight off of there, or download it as a file and send it to yourself. I fly with a phone, as an iPhone with Fly Sky High, and I fly with my normal phone with XC Track on them. And I scan the QR codes, but also have a WhatsApp group between the two phones. And I just send any task that I make, I send it there. Because then if I've ever not got signal or anything, I can just open the task. So if you go somewhere in Wales and the signal's a bit crap, at the moment you want to look at it, I can just open it on WhatsApp. And that's why I'll use this at home before I go anywhere, so that when I get to the hill, I've got it downloaded on my phone and I can just open it as a file, as opposed to having to go on the website in case there's no signal. And you can always just open it and use it as a file on your phone. Which, like, just a piece of, I've cocked up before and I've been to those points where you've got no signal or you're the only one in the hill. And I need to edit that. And so, yeah, I just make it as a little file. Boom, everything's backed up, you're ready to go again. So that is XC, Fly XC. Is there any questions on Fly XC?
Something I learned the other day from Fly Sky High is if you want to say start XC on where you are and then declare somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. If you press the plus button,
Adds to route.
it adds to route.
Yeah.
Where you are.
Yeah. So Ken was just pointing out. Yeah. So Ken was pointing out that he discovered a feature on Fly Sky High the other day that if you put it in on the waypoint page, or it's called the map page, I believe, on Fly Sky High, when you put your takeoff point and your next point, every time you add a point,
there's a little button, I think it's third along at the top. You press it, and it's got a little plus sign and a root on it, and that adds it to root. The best way to do it is when you drop the pin, add that one to root. When you drop your goal, add that one to root. I don't really fly with other waypoints. So the other day when we flew this route from Sellesley down to Arundel, so Arundel's over here, I'll generally just drag the arrow check across. Right? I don't really worry about the points in about the waypoints. If I do put them in, extra ones, make sure they're ticked as optional. The last thing you want to do is find out that the BL wind is slightly off and you've got a crosswind to make that optional, that turn point that you put in, that you don't really need now because you can make it a clear run. Or you've put it in to avoid airspace, but actually you've arrived there at 4 grand, you've got 500 feet to play with, I can go straight under this airspace. So always put the extra turn points in as optional. Make sure they're clicked as optional on Fly Sky High and stuff, and it'll avoid you going around and making avoidance maneuvers for something that it's not going to benefit you at all, you know? So that's another little tip that I would use for Fly XC and for your Fly Sky High.
Just with the NOTAMs, you'll actually look at the NOTAMs on the NOTAM.
Yeah, so I was just asked about the NOTAMs, where I look at the NOTAM information and stuff. So yeah, I will. So XC Track gives you a NOTAM update every day when you turn it on. I'd never trust it. So I go on notam.info, is that what's called? Yeah, notam.info. I go on there. NOTAMs en route, local NOTAMs, look around, what's around, and I go there. We've also, there's lots of gliding clubs now, and because of the stuff at Keeble recently, Keeble's now NOTAM only. So if it's not on the NOTAMs and you fly through it and they said they were dropping stuff there, it's irrelevant. Your points will go, your flight will still go on the lead because they are running off of the NOTAMs now with Keeble. So we're not bothering Keeble anymore. And Bannerdown, they do gliding from there. So what Bannerdown is, on their website, they've got a little bit on there that tells you if they're gliding that day. For your own safety, just go onto Bannerdown website and check, because there will be cables to 2,000 feet. So if you plan on, my advice is don't fly through the middle of Keeble, right? That's always my advice. If you can just get around it, don't fly through the middle of it. But if you plan your flight going down that way, go on to Bannerdown gliding site as well. Check that they're not winching. Go on to notam.info and just, or NOTAM info, and just check the NOTAMs in the area for the day and NOTAMs along your route. Don't just say, I'm landing at Westbury, so is that one active? You know, there could be a RAF show going on somewhere along the route you haven't checked. Check NOTAMs for your whole route, especially if you start getting into bigger XCs that are going over, let's say 100K, you need to explore. But yeah, I used to say just NOTAM infos, pretty much always. There is another one I started using, it's called, I'm not going to recommend it. I like it, but I'm not good enough on it. Runway HD. So Runway HD is really good. Grant Osmond was the guy who mentioned that. I started playing with it. So just listen, Grant, I love it if you were bombarded with messages about Runway and HD. So do that. Ask me as many questions as you can about it. Yeah, Runway HD, that's really cool. That adds little NOTAMs as well. So that's another little trick. Add to go there. Check your NOTAMs. Everyone happy with this? Okay, sure. Let's on to the next one, mate. Let's go flying, apparently. This is a picture of Idris last year on our 200K flight. Flick over then, Sean. Okay, so decision making in the air. So when does your XC decision making start? Any ideas? When would you? Ken, you've just missed the first climb of the day. So my XC decision making starts. My XC decision making starts the moment I'm at the hill. I look at the sky. Oh, right. So, okay, yeah, I'm not in any rush at the moment. It doesn't look too good. It's not well, and I always turn up early. I do it a lot, and I have to rush, but I always try and get there so I've got time to spare. And I turn up at the hill. I walk to the front of the hill. Hi guys, you right? Everyone, you right? Yeah, chuck my kit down. And people might think I'm rude. Where's, I saw you were doing that talk the other day. Yeah, that's right, mate. I was doing that talk. And I think, no, I'm getting my kits out. I'm an XC pilot. I'm coming to fly XC. I'll have a chat with you, not until I got all my stuff sorted out. Not going to get distracted in my line check because you want to talk to me about how good my XC talk was. It was a brilliant XC talk as well, but I don't want, like, we're not going to get distracted by that. We're going to just get the kit laid out. I'm going to get everything sorted, right? Then as soon as that, I'm going to get all my instruments set up. I'm not going to take off with my XC tracer. Everything's going to be set, right? Boom. Sort my P tube out, get everything good. Okay, I'm cool. I'm excellent. How am I looking? Still not great yet. Nobody's taken off yet. There's no wind dummies, no birds flying. Yeah, so yeah, it was a good night. How did you get? I'll have a little chat. And I'm never more than 20 feet from my kit to dash in it if someone launches into something. I'm right by my kit because I'm here to XC fly. Realistically, if you want to go and have a nice day paragliding with mates, don't go cross country flying. That's what you go to Westbury for, right? That's what you want to do. Turn up and have the fun and top land and chat to people and have a catch up. That's an amazing part of paragliding. That's not XC flying, and that will cost you XCs, definitely. I've 100% been out of my kit. People have took off, been in the climb, and they're climbing as it goes over the hill. I'm trying to get in my kit. The climb's now behind me, and I've been stuck on sails with it. Yeah, but yeah. So Kenish just said that if he's got there to XC fly, he turns up, he gets his kit ready, gets his kit ready to fly. Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. You've got 30 years experience. No, if nothing's happening. So if I turn up on so like tomorrow, I plan to be at the hill for about 10, quarter to 10ish, right? I know the day won't be worth anything really before 11. Although the other day we took off quite early, 10 to 11. It probably won't be worth anything before 11. I can have my kit set up in 5 minutes. I'm not going to because I don't want to rush. So I'm going to probably take 10, 15 minutes setting my kit up. And I'm probably going to have 30 minutes spare. I'm going to have a pork pie, or I'm going to have a drink, or I'm going to have a wee before I put my P tube on, or like whatever it may be. I'm going to not rush myself, right? But if I turn up at the hill and there's birds flying, and there's a little climb outside, or there's a cumulus forming, make no mistake, the moment all my kit's ready, I'm in it. And I'll sit on the hill in my kit because I'm an XC pilot. I've come here to XC. Now, I'm a bit different to a lot of people. I don't massively enjoy paragliding. Okay, it's not like, if I can go paragliding or go fishing, I'll go fishing. I can go XC flying or I can go fishing. I'm going XC flying over everything. There's not anything on this earth. I base jump, I skydive, I do loads of different things. I'll do XC paragliding over every single one of them. But I'll probably do all of them over going and flying around Westbury or something. I'll go every now and again. I never flew between September and I flew the other day in March. I didn't fly at all. My kit didn't come out of the bag. It stayed in the bag. I'm not massively obsessed with paragliding. Lots of people are, and that's superb. I love it. Like, Sean's one of my best friends in paragliding. Everybody knows Sean Simmons. Why? Because he's always on the bloody hill. He don't go anywhere, right? He loves flying. He's brilliant at it. He loves flying. He loves talking to people. What you don't know is he's a bloody good XC pilot. He just don't go XC. A good XC pilot. Outflown me a couple of times. Really good XC pilot. But that's not, I want to go XC. I'm an XC pilot through and through. All I care about, going XC. So when I turn up to the hill, I'm in XC mode. I'm going XC. That's what I do. So I get to the hill, get all my stuff sorted out. I get in my kit. I'm already flying. I'm using the same process now from the ground, watching the sky, as I would when I'm in the air flight. What's that cloud doing over there? Oh, it looks like it's growing. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, no. Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, Sam. When did you? Yeah, no, I know it's boring. Oh, mate, that's a bird, I think. Hang on. No, just chat. Oh, hang on. Did you feel that wind? You ready? Oh, it didn't come to nothing. And that's what I'm doing the whole time I'm sat in my harness. I'm flying the sky. Even though I'm still on the ground and I haven't taken off, I'm literally, what's that? Oh, that tractor. That tractor's going across that field. Crows, what are they doing? That buzzard's soaring. Buzzard out front, buzzard out front. I'm saying this out loud. Like, we're saying this to each other. Literally, I'm sitting next to someone on that. Buzzard, Joe, buzzard. He said, where? Like, 2 o'clock, where? And we're like, oh, look, if you look. And that's how I'm flying the sky from my harness. Because serious business, right? Serious business is XC flying. If I don't fly XC today, what's the point of even waking up, right? So I'm here to fly XC and I'm making all the same decisions. That cloud looks like it's forming, the wind's coming from there, or whatever it may be, but I'm in the XC flight before I've even taken off. Listen, don't kid yourself. if you want to go paragliding because you love the community and you enjoy it, and if you manage to get away, brilliant. I have nothing but respect for you. I don't look at you as less of a pilot. It's just they're two completely different things. That's brilliant. Glyn Cassidy did that for years. And then he flew his PB for me the other day. For what reason? I was in the air, Alex was in the air, Glyn was in the air, me and Alex took a climb, Glyn got in the climb, and we all went XC together. There's a common denominator between every single person who's ever flown XC. What's the common denominator? They all left the hill. Everyone who ever flew XC ever has left the hill. They haven't climbed to base, got to base, and then bimbled around the hill and waited for the next. They got to base and they've gone. They're like, I'm here now. It's where you go. You have to leave the hill. If you don't start leaving the hill, and listen, you'll bomb when you first start at 10K, 12K. But if you make that link to that next thermal at 8K, now you're guaranteed 12K. And then you make that next link and you're still high, well, now you're at 15K and you've flown your PB. And then once you've made 3 links, you've linked 3 thermals, in my opinion, you've flown 100K. If you can link 3 thermals, any 3 separate thermals, you can fly 100K. Because, no worries, mate? Yeah. Yeah. So John just said Alex the other day, his 3rd XC flew 100K. My first XC off of Westbury was 6K. And then my second XC was 68K off the Marlboroughs. And then from there I was hooked, I was obsessed. However, it took me another year to fly 100K. And then once I've flown 100K, I could fly 100K again for a little while. 98, 97, 96, 84. Just like, what's going on here? Boom, next thing you know, you're flying 100K. You start making all these little decisions, but all of them started with the same thing. I left the hill. I just left the hill. And honestly, if you can link 3 thermals, you can fly 100K. There's nothing, the decision to make, you won't accidentally link 3 thermals, because realistically, if you're flying downwind, those 3 thermals are probably spaced over 10K at least. So if you've linked those 3 thermals, the chances are you keep making the decisions, you'll be 100K before you know it. So once you've taken off and you start flying, it's the decisions in the air that are going to keep you in the air, right? So we've got decision making in the air. So go this way, that way, this way, that way. There are principles that I stick by when I fly XC. Get high, stay high. If I can be high the whole day. Now you fly with Alex Coltman, or I used to fly with Wayne Seeley, and Wayne was a complete opposite. Wayne was go forward as fast as you can. Like, yeah, but what about being high, Wayne? We've got to stay in the sky. It's boring. Good. Next minute, you've done a 100K flight. Wayne's not going over 1,000 feet. He's been bobbing along. You're like, how's he not on the ground? And he's literally, I can't explain to you how he will literally not get over 2,000 feet for 100K. And you're like, you're at $4,000, and you just can't keep up with him. You can't catch him. You can't. And he's like, yeah, much easier. And that's my advice. Get high and stay high. Right. So when you start XC flying, take every single climb to base. Unless you know for a fact the next climb is better. So the other day I was flying and we got a boomer at Sellesley, not a boomer really, it's about 2.5 meters. Then we got a bit further down and the next climb was like 2 meters. Get a bit further down, 2.5 meters. Get to the next one, 1 meter a second, 0.8, 1.2, 0. After 10 minutes, I'm going, stuff this, I can't sit in this anymore. And I went because I was at like $3,000. Base was at say, was it like $3,000? Every thermal I had before that was strong. It's like 2.2 regular. And I'm like, there's a better climb out there for me. Now I'm gonna head to I could see the sky looked good. If it was a blue day, I wouldn't have done that. If it was a blue day, I would have stayed in it as long as I can. But it was the sky looked really good. And I was like, I can't sit in this dribbler. It's dribbling. I'm quite high enough. I'm gonna move on. Otherwise, I'm going to take every single climb to base until I know that something's going up better.
Because what happens, you quite often get something where you find it quite nice. And then suddenly it's all good to the end, this and that, the other, and 2,500, something like that, and the base is 4.5. I'd love to get to base several times, and then you find actually it's a bit of a struggle. then you mix it around, and then, you know, I remember probably quite stuff in the last year, bobbing around about 2,500. I wanted to get to the base, and I pushed on.
Yeah.
Pushed on because I thought, well, I'm not actually making any progress. We've got the ages, and then eventually got a nice, solid time, and then actually straight base.
Yeah, so Ken basically was reiterating my point now with an experience of his own. Now, that for me, I can do that for a couple of reasons. A, if I bomb, so what? I've done this lots, right? So when you're chasing the distance, you sort of get fixated with, I want to fly my PB, and I've only ever flown 12K, and oh, that could have been me flying 20K. Try and be that for as long as you can, because when you start flying big flights regular, you'll miss out on the excitement of, oh man, my PB, you know, just like enjoy the cock-ups and only flying a 20 and flying a 30 and then flying a 50 and then not doing it again for months. Enjoy it, because it's so exciting. It's way more exciting than flying 200K flights in 2 days. It is way, I love that I can fly big flights now, and I love that I set tasks and I fly them, but it was so cool when you turn up to a hill thinking this might be my PB, and it's like, I've only flown 30K and I can't wait to fly a bit further. But my advice to that is get as high as you can, unless you know that you can go up and quicker elsewhere. Now that is, if you're an XC pilot who's just starting out, why are you going to be the first person in the air? Why are you going to be the person who decides when you go down the wind? Why are you going to just chill? You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't get more points on the league because you let out. It's not just say, well, I'm here, there's great pilots here. When they launch, I'll launch. Right? If they're going up, I'll launch and I'll go up with them. If you're in a climb with those pilots, get in a climb with them and then go as high as they do, as high as you can. Okay. If you're like on a B wing and I'm on my Enzo and you're 1,000 feet below me and I go, don't follow me. Take the extra 1,000 feet, take it all the way and keep your eye on me the whole time. Because I guarantee you, if I get another climb 5K downwind and you get that extra 1,000 feet, you'll probably get that climb. If you leave when I leave, you'll either be at the bottom of it or you won't connect with it at all. So don't get dragged along by the other guys, but just say, oh, they're going. Right now I'll go. Get as high as I can and I'll go. And when you arrive at that climb, take it as high as you can. Unless you look over at your left and there's somebody in there rocketing up faster than you. And then don't waste your time in a 1 meter a second if this guy's in a 3 meter a second. Get over to him and get as high as you can, as quick as you can. That's the process of XC flying. As high as I can, as quick as I can, push on to the next climb. As high as I can, push on. That's really the trick. So I look around me. If I'm in a climb and this guy's rocketing up faster than me, I'm gone. I'm in his climb. I leave my climb to get to it. Saying that, the other day, Alex and I took off from Mir. We flew exactly the same declared goal. We flew the whole flight together. We never got within 5K of each other and never shared the same flight once. Could see each other the whole time, but we just went different lines for no other reason than flew our different lines. I was like, when I landed, I was like, why did you fly that route? He's like, well, the sky looked better. I was like, yeah, but I had clouds popping up in front of me. He's like, oh, I didn't really see that from my angle. And we never connected once, not once did we connect. Whole flight, he raved it, messaged me from goal. He's like, well done, mate, where are you? I was like, I flew onto Worcester. Like, we literally didn't, we were 5K from each other the whole flight. Didn't share the same thermal. But if I'd been in a dribbler and Alex was corkscrewing up and I could have got there, I would have got there 100%. Because being the best there, climb the best climb. Right? Okay, any questions about decision making in air? Is there any things that you guys are doing or have done and you think it might be the reason that you've decked it?
I found as a new, if I've left totally earlier, like around 12 ish, you know, and get to that point in the middle of the day where like the sky seems to just all go blue and shut down and on the day. And then it all seems to regenerate again. So when you're in there, well, you're not going to get as far, and then all the people doing big distance are already gone and stuff. And it seems like I don't know, seems to be able to stay up for longer.
Okay. So Nick just said he's found that sometimes if he leaves earlier in the day, the sky will die a bit and then it'll regenerate, but he's already on the floor because he's flown in to the crap bit. And the guys, if he takes off later, he's had a better experience flying longer. But obviously the more experienced guys always take off earlier and they seem to do well. So the sky's the sky, right? There's none of us have a magic formula. Or you can think that people are sky gods and people are reading something different. There ain't no magic formula. The formula is the same. Like get high, stay high, pick the clouds, fly to them. If you can't pick the clouds, fly to the ground sources. So for me, I regularly, and I will do this season, will land. Second I'm packing up, the sky will erupt and it'll be beautiful again. It happens every season. There's not an XC pilot, decent pilot. Rob, am I right? Yeah. Ken, how many times you could land it? 2 minutes there, all your mates go over your head.
There's nothing worse than bombing in the middle of the day, and then you look up and everyone who left a bit late is at 4 grand flying over your head, waving at you.
Yeah, I mean, go on my Instagram and have a look at my pictures. There'll be loads from last season. How am I on the deck under a sky like this? And I got a selfie, and it's the most amazing Simpsons-looking sky you've ever seen in your life. But every cloud I went over never had any lift under it. Or that's rubbish. I made a shit decision basically. That's why I'm on the deck, right? That's what's happened. I made a crap decision, or something didn't work. It should have worked. But also, so when you fly. If you're flying your Paraglider XC, what are you looking for? Yeah. So what's going to be your signs of where are you looking? Clouds always the clouds. If there's clouds, we fly clouds above everything. Okay, because we want to be high. At that point, the source of thermals are relevant. So I'm looking at the clouds. If there's clouds that are slightly darker and they've got a slightly convex, yes, right? concave bottom, I'm going to it. I know that's the one. If there's a cloud, they're all looking flat, everything's looking flat, and this one's slightly darker, I'm going to a slightly darker one because it's just something a little bit different about it. Probably a bit stronger, it's a bit thicker, more condensed, it might be sucking out of. And I'm just doing those decisions. I'm flying the sky, okay? When I'm under 1,000 feet, I'm flying just the ground because I've got to think about landing as well. Got to think, right, I'm like a grand, 1,000 feet, I'm flying both then. Okay, I'm looking, my feet aren't coming out until I know I'm on the deck. But ground source is going to probably be the best thing for me then. If I'm in between those two, I'm still flying the sky. I'm flying the sky, I might look at the ground as well. I'm flying the sky if the sky is optional. If what happens to you, it's booming, but then the sky starts to go blue, start flying ground sources. Now that people get fixated on towns, warehouses, like
Flat fields, large areas of flat fields.
large, superb flat fields, rape fields. I find rape fields really good. Polytunnels are the greatest thermal source in the world. On a 4 meter a second day, I've had 7 meter a second climbs of polytunnel. They're not enjoyable, especially if you're down low, but they're really good, especially if you're taking off in the moments. But the one big factor about paragliding, the most important thing for us when we take off is the terrain. And that goes out of people's heads since they start flying. You start looking for all these big, flat, dark fields, towns, but they're not looking at the fact that, hang on a minute, all the land seems to come up there and the wind's blowing against it and there's a little peak at the top and it's baking in the sun. Why would you not fly straight at the peak of that? The wind's blowing on it, it's all baking, go straight over the peak of it. Or the other day, I came off of Minchinhampton, the back of Selsley, dribbly little climb, and Haresfield's there. Haresfield's on like this little weird tump thing, right? Just a little weird thing on his own. On the top of it, it's like flattish, like weird looking. I was like, that's my next climb. Went to it, boom, an absolute boomer. Because the wind was on it, everything was looking like, it was a milky, horrible sky. But in my head, I was saying to myself, if I was just wind blowing warm air about, even if it's across flat land, I need a trigger to release. It will just release on its own. But that little deviation in the earth, it's just going to roll along, hit it and ping. So I started looking at those things as well when I'm assessing the ground. It's not just what the source might be, or that little village is going to definitely get warm. It's the fact that, okay, that little village might be getting warm, but the fact that the eastern side of it slightly rolls up into a hill and the wind is going in that direction, I'm not flying over the town. I'm flying over the top of the hill. I'm trying to get to the highest point because that's realistically where it's going to roll over and release, or I would think that's what, in my head, that's what I'm thinking. So lots of people get fixated with the ground sources, but don't think about the terrain. And it's so strange to me because the biggest source of us even taking off in the first place is the fact that we get to fly on hills and undulations in the earth. So when you're flying along, everything does look pretty flat as well, right? If you're in fly sky high and you're in terrain mode, I can see 10K ahead of me that actual ridge that actually sets up that there's a little ridge line there and it's into wind. Even if I did get low, I might be able to ridge soar that for a couple of minutes and keep myself up. I might not, but it's the only thing in the air. It's the only thing in front of me that's giving me a lead to go to, you know?
The last few places now is downward, hill.
Yep.
Which is, yeah, go there. Look some there. And actually, the best lift is over the back of it.
Well, there's another one even closer than that, just past Lynham, just past RAF. Loads of people have flown from Saleslive, bombed just past RF Lynham at about 45K-ish. And just before you get to Avery, there's like this weird, there's a scrambling track. You and I bombed right there, one field apart a couple of years ago. And there's a scrambling track there. And every time, for about 4 times in a row, I was like, I'm going to that ridge. Never got to climb off it, ever. If I arrive 1,000 feet above and I can go 2 fields back, I get to climb every single time. The ridge isn't the source, and what's probably happening is the source is behind, so the source is actually drawing all the stuff off of the ridge, and it won't release at the ridge. It's releasing behind it.
Classic one is if you go to the law without 25K,
Yeah.
is when okay, it looks like a great story,
Mhm.
but actually nobody ever gets the time off of it.
Yeah.
Fly over the back of it, it's in the lead.
Yeah.
And that's where.
Yeah, and there are, of course, loads of exceptions, but for me, I'm looking at terrain as well as just what would be bog standard normal sources, okay? And the greatest bit about all of this, cocking it up. Like, honestly, it's amazing getting, I got a climb the other day from down right near Arundel, my last climb of the day, just over 4 marks. And there was this little wood, and I was like, well, no, it was a massive forest, if I'm honest. And I was looking at it, I was like, I'm low, I won't make it over that forest. Got to get a climb off it. Underneath it was orchards, and I was like, if I land it now, I'm going to be impelled. There's nowhere to land my glider. Do I commit to this? And I got above this wood, and I'm probably 35 feet, 40 feet off the trees. I'm thinking, I'm screwed. If it goes tits up, I've got to put it in the orchard, right? And I got this climb, and it was going from 2 meters a second to 4 meters a second to 1 meter a second to 2 meters a second to -8 down to -6 down. And it was horrendous. It was horrible. I'm like, come on. It's powerful. So I knew I could climb it. Climb. Hooked into it. Boom. Absolute rocket. 4 meters a second. Got me right back up. And I was away, you know. So sometimes those climbs aren't going to be the nicest. They aren't going to be the best. But that's why it's good to stay high. I don't know if there's an answer to that, but I find like changing gear because you know when you're in that situation where you've got a bit of lift and a bit of sitting and a bit of lift, my mind has to go to a slightly different place when I'm in something solid or I'm high and I'm looking for the next. It's a very focused. Yes. I struggle with that. Okay. Yeah. So you were saying that so for the people on that, you were saying that sometimes in varying lift or in different lifts, your brain struggles or you have to take yourself to different places. Yeah. So I generally firm to the left if it's mellow, and if it's pumping, I generally go to the right. Just because I got really bad arthritis in my hands anyway, because of what I've done for so long. And if I'm firming right all day, it makes my hand ache, and you get fed up looking at the same thing clockwise, right? So if it's really mellow, light, really delicate lift, I go on my left brake and I just sort of try and float around in it and just stay in it. If it is really banging, I bury my brake. I sit there, I play with my instruments because I'm locked into it. I'm just rocking into it. And that's for me, I go 2 different ways. However, also, if you're in something broken, horrible out, you're generally probably not in the core, or cores haven't linked, it's cores coming together and they haven't linked. I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm by no means a meteorologist or a scientist. I'm a prat who flies a rag around the sky. That's it. But for me, it's those are either things that haven't come together or I'm not really in it. So what I'll do is I'll widen my circle. So I see people all the time. I'll come into lift with them and they're, oh my God, you climbed so much better than me. I'm like, you weren't in the lift. They're bimbling around here and you can see that they're doing this. And I come in and I'm looking at them, so I go wider. Push right here now, because I'm listening to my vario. My vario is going beep, 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 and they're never moving into these stronger beats. So as soon as I hear, boop, 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 I drift. I literally let my turn off and I drift into it. And if it starts to die off again, yeah, if it starts to die, I drift back into it again. I'm like, right, okay. So perhaps that's the edge, because sometimes the edges are punchier and you don't get it. And then I'll drift back the other way. And I'm mapping it, because as long as I'm not 500 feet off the ground, I can map the thermal and still chase it. Then I'm going to go downwind, because chances are the thermal's probably taking it's not going up straight, probably on a day when it's blowy. So I start to go upwind of it. And find it, boom, I'm locked into a solid core. I drift away from you because you're stuck in that little dribbly bit because you're trying to sit in a circle in amongst all the crap. The moment you know there's lift, if you know that there's lift, widen it, track it, find the best bit. Unless you fly into a 4 meter a second, you can vary your brake, do that every time. But otherwise, fly it, track it, make a mental picture like, okay, I'm gonna go out here, right to the right, go circle around, boom, 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 boom. That feels good. I'm gonna drift into that lift. If this feels really good, I'm not just gonna turn around for, oh, well, I know that bit's over there. I'm gonna drift into that stronger bit of lift. And if it starts to die off, I'm not gonna come out the end of it, I'm gonna get straight back into it, right? So you start to draw in your head what this lift looks like. And I'm doing that the whole time. Even if I'm fully locked into a core. If I'm locked into a screamer, 4 meters a second, I'm going around and going around. At some point, I'm going to clip the edge of it. So I'll drift back into it. And I'll come out the other end of it and I'll clip back. I know where this is now. And I bury myself back into it. All the time, what I don't try and do is I don't generally shut off when I'm in a climb. I try and draw it, try and map it, try and draw it. If I can bury my brake and sit in it, superb. Generally, I'm trying to draw it and map it. Look at my drift, how much am I drifting over this time? And do you know what I'm doing? The very first thing, if I'm in an established climb and I know I'm going up, what do you think I'm doing? Looking for the next climb. That's exactly it. The whole time I'm circling, I'm looking, what's going up over there? Oh, is that get around. Yeah, it is. That's bird's going up over there. I'm sure it is. I'll keep on. Oh, I can't see them again. Get around the circle. Boom, there they are flying up. I might leave and go to them. Sit in it. They're still going up, I'm going, boom. Or that cloud's forming. And I've got a little video on YouTube, and it's literally little puffs of air. Put little puffs of cloud. I'm watching them do 3 turns. And I start to form. Do 4 turns. It's really starting to, I'm gone to it. Boom. I'm high enough, I can get to it, I'm gone. And the moment I'm in an established climb, I'm planning my next step in the route. So I draw it and make sure I'm drawing that climb every single time. I'm planning that next one. That's what firming's for. Firming your ladder, right? Get on your step ladder, climb as high as you can, look for the next place to go.
Wes, one thing that I found that was a game changer for me, it took a while to get used to it. I used to have a vario that used to just have like a 20-second averager. And when you're in strong lift, it's fine. When you're looking for broken lift or you're getting low, it's no use at all. You have no idea what's happening. So most pilots I know, maybe you're the same, have instantaneous, very accurate varios that will tell you every single bit of when you're going up or down instantaneously. And if you use that and get used to it early on in your flying, you can map out the sky very easily. Whereas if you've got an averager, you have no idea where the lift is.
So what Rob was touching on there was the difference in vario and how to read a vario and how a vario presents itself. I'm saying that you've got lots of varios have an averager, and you fly with a 20-second, 30-second averager, and then you have an instant vario. I fly with an instant vario, and on my comp instrument I have an instant, and on the next page I have a 30-second. Now, what I'll do is if I'm in an established climb, I'll click the 30-second averager one over during the climb, because I want to know how good the climb is to know whether to sit in the next one. But generally, all of my flying is done on my XC tracer as an instant vario. I want to know instantly what I'm into, how it's behaving, and people, that's why you see people, I was in a 6 meter a second today, I saw it on my vario. And then when you upload their flight, it says 3.3. Because you got the instant, you weren't on the average. The average, when you upload it to the XE League, will be your averager. So it will say 3.3 meters a second, and you'll know you saw 6 meters a second on your instrument. That's because it was your instant, not your average. So knowing the two things is really good. And I try to always fly my instant vario. I don't have any sync alarm. If my sync alarm makes a noise, I'm doing -10. So I know I've got no synchro. There's only once that's ever happened to me in straight flight. It was in Pedro Bernardo in the Brits once. Other than that, it's never made a sound unless I'm spiraling. Because if my instrument's not making a sound, I'm not going up. So that's all I need to care about. When I go on glide, all the time when I'm on glide, I'm watching my instrument to tell me what the best line I'm on. I'm in 2.2 down here, 2.2, I'm going to the right side here. Oh, 2.8 down, shit, I'm going to the left a bit, 1.6 down, 1.4 down. Oh, I'll say on this glide, so 2.2 down, I'm to the right side here. And I'm never flying straight. I'm always adjusting slightly, adjust little break input possible, little break input possible.
I find it very effective when you get into broken and going up. Yes, but I fly straight. It's quite often if you have a long it's the 0.5
The center of what? I'm not looking for lift now, I'm on glide. No, so I'm talking about glide now. So when I'm going on glide, when I'm going on glide, I've left my climb, I'm going on glide. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I made that confusing. If I'm in, yeah, I'm the same thing, yeah, when I'm in a thermal, yeah.
Flying straight often gets you both of it on the outside to the good stuff, and then once again, it's a solid final.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I was talking about why I used a different vario. So on my instant on my instant vario, as I'm flying on glide, it'll tell me 1.2, 1.6, 1.4. I'm trying to fly. So I'm like, oh, minus 1.2 down here. Okay, that's not too bad. I can settle that. I'm full bar. That's quite good. Okay. Oh, minus 3.6. Minus stairs. Something might be coming. Something like minus 4. No, I'm going to the right. And I start to go to the right slightly. Minus 2.2. I'll stay on there for minus 2.1. Minus. I'm trying to find the best line all the time. Now that might be the cloud that I'm aiming for. Just looks great. So I'm aiming for that cloud, and I know I can make it on the next glide. I don't care. I'll fly for the crap stuff. Or it might be like the other day, the milky sky, horrible. I had 6.6K to go to get to goal. And I literally let go of all the brakes, let go of everything, went a little touch of bar, and I sat in my harness like this, just to get the max glide and trying to lean slightly because I knew where the next bit was that I wanted to get to. And the sky wasn't telling me anything. I just want to try and make myself, so I tried to get as small as possible. I put a little boop, boop on my right hand side. So I leant to the right and got a little bit better at it. I'm just trying to assess the air slightly, but all the time watching my area, watching the instant. So this was that day that we went, this is that day last Sunday with Glyn. Glyn's at the picture. That's me and Alex. This is the day where we all went separate ways. And like all of us flew separate ways. Glyn was his best flight. If he would have followed one of us, he would have probably improved that again. But the airspace put him off a bit, and he hadn't really assessed it much and stuff. He was just happy to go XC, and he flew an amazing XC. But we all flew completely different directions under this sky. This is the best of the sky, pretty much. That's the best sky we have. By the end of the day, the sky looked like that everywhere. Literally just like that. But at the beginning of the day, this is just off the back of Mere. That's the long week there, just literally just off the back of Mere, just as we got away. Can you skip to the next slider sexual? Yes, right. So, where would you head? Okay, so Ken is now at base, not flying the sky. Flying. So right, so Ken's now, probably because you can't see it properly from over there, Ken. I'm giving you excuse. But Ken's not flying the sky, right? So straight away, the first thing you went to was to the tank. I'm not saying that's wrong, right? We're assuming we're pointing downwind. Yeah, we're assuming, well, the tank's really small. So yeah, so we're assuming we're poking downwind, right? Now, what I'm probably going to look at here, I'm probably going to look at the ground. For what reason? Cloud shadow. So I can see there's clouds. I can see that there's clouds. Clouds here. I can see that there's clouds. But here I can't really see what's big, what's powerful. As soon as I look at the cloud shadows, I can see, oh, well, this cloud's really big. That cloud's made a really big shadow. So now I'm still flying the sky because I've seen the cloud. I'm looking at the shadow on the ground. So for me, what I did on this day, I aimed here. Why did I aim here? No. A, it's downwind, so it's on track for a start. which makes a difference because that's not much of a detour. I would go to that all day long. The reason I went to here on that particular day, okay, this cloud looked like quite puffy. There's another puffyish cloud above it, and it looks like one's forming just above. So I'm thinking in my head, the chances are they're not dying. They look quite dense, okay? I can get over to here, but it's not downwind, and it doesn't look massively better than this cloud. So I'm going to stay on my heading, and I'm going to head to that. The cloud I would really like to get to is this one over here, if I could. But that one looks like it's really dark even from here. Even from back there, you can probably see the base of that cloud is really a lot darker. But it's off the wind line, and if I can get to that one and it tops me up, I'll definitely get there. So in that situation, I'm thinking, well, the sky looks a bit bleak. It's not looking amazing, but this is Glyn's picture. But I'm looking at that sky there, and I'm thinking, right, my best option really is it's downwind. So that's the way that I'm going. I don't have to crosswind to get to it. And potentially looks quite good. The shadows are dark on the ground. The cloud itself looks quite good. And I'm heading straight for it. Yeah.
With the wide angle lens, I thought that was about 10 miles away. Seriously, it really does look
that's, I mean, yeah, no, it's not. That's
Okay.
definitely what I'm good. That's like, you know, just past this town, really. It's a
Yeah.
glide. That's a glide, not even a long glide.
No,
you
I was
know.
going to say,
Yeah.
if that's the case, then those kind of yellow fields probably what is
Here?
Yeah, it's probably what's feeding that cloud.
Yeah, it probably is. Maybe this town, or these fields are feeding that town. Yeah, but I'm looking at the sky first. I have some more fly in the sky. So I'm heading straight for this. And this is the interesting one for me. This little thing here that looks like it's forming. Because I get to watch that all the way. I get to see, bigger clouds are hard to see if they're forming. I get to watch what that's doing the whole time. The whole time I'm heading there, I get to see it actually grow. And if I know that it's expanding, it's growing, oh, I'm on for a winner. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going there. If it starts to die, I'm immediately questioning if I'm doing the right thing. I'm immediately thinking, oh God, that cloud's dying now. But I can see it, I'm going for it. That is where I'm heading. This for me is a tricky sky. Like if you're just starting out, that's a tricky sky. You get a Simpsons looking sky, just getting around everything that looks puffy with a black bottom on it, right? But for me, on this day, downwind, boom, straight to here, and mainly just because of that. Realistically though, that's the nicest looking cloud. It's just out of the way that I want to go, and I'd have to crosswind to get back onto course line. So I'll just head to that from this height. You probably won't make that. I don't think crosswind. You might get some lift off of this. The ground rolls up here as well. You might get some lift off of this. You can see the cloud shadows staggered as well. So yeah, this would be a tricky one. So I would head straight to that. Any questions? What's my next slide, Sean? Right. So where would you go on a day like this? Absolutely bloody anywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely anywhere, right? You just go to anything. The reason where I would go, where would you go with this? What would be your deciding factor? Okay, any option? We're probably about 3.5, 4 grand here. So yeah, so I would go straightforward for this reason only. What's this thing here for? Right, that's what I'm looking at. Oh, hang on, that's a weird place for that to be there, right? Just some weird little cloud. So it's either nothing, but the chances of there just being a wisp just on its own and it being nothing, it's either something dying, which I know is not because I'm flying at it the whole time, or it's something growing. So because it's something growing, I'll go for it. I'll make this all day long anyway. I'll definitely make this climb here. But that's a lovely little bridge if we get into that and it's really pumping. So for me, I'm going to try and get under that, under this one, under the next one, and follow the street along. But realistically, I mean, Alex the other day in a similar looking sky, Alex went straight to here. Straight to here, and I carried on straight. Alex said, dude, the sky looked much better over here. My shortest route worked, and I ended up 5-10K in front of him in sky. But he went, like, his decision making was 100% right. Get under the clouds, follow him along. It just so happened, I was right, this was forming. It worked, boom. Puffs up. But that's my opinion is, I know I can make this glide to this lovely looking cloud, and this is here. So I'm going to watch it form. If it doesn't form, I'm not going to be too bothered anyway, because I'll make the cloud.
But would you, because you've got like a glue around it, you'd probably sink around that. Would you have like gone in and climbed in it and then carried on, or you just kind of?
Oh, I'll climb. If there's a climb in that, I'll climb in it. Yeah. If there's, because I mean, I'm thinking But what am I thinking? Let's say my average climb of the day, my best climbs of the day have been 4 meters a second. My average climb's been 3 meters a second, right? So let's say I can get under this cloud and I can get a 4 meter a second climb, but it's 2K further downwind, right? Or I can get under this cloud here and I can get a 3.5 meter a second climb, just half a meter a second less, but it's nearer. I'm going to take that one as high as I can, right? As high as I can, because that's there anyway, and I'm probably going to fly straight through it by the time I need it. But this here is almost the same as my top peak climb of the day. If I get under this and this is a meter a second, I'm probably going to fly straight through and go to the next one. If I get under this and it's rocketing up at the same pace or nearly the best pace of the day, I'm sitting under it. A 3.5 meter a second climb on a 4 meter a second day is a bloody good climb. I'm going to sit in it and take it all the way to base. And that I would take all the way to base rather than push onto that, because that's going to offer me not much more. And really, I could get to that and it'd be dying off. It's not going to be, I can tell you by the look of it, it's not, but it could. So I would sit under that unless it was a weak one. And if it's a weak one, move on.
I think with the photo, it's quite difficult to see, because to me, that's looking like it's about 4K. Quite a decent line.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, so this one 100%, which is why this is a perfect brick. So yeah, look, that is about. Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. But this here is a good 4 or 5K glide to get to this big one here, and you could just tuck straight in there. But because I've seen this now, that's midway. I'm thinking, oh, that's there, that's growing. If I'm on glide and that's doing nothing and it goes again, I'm probably not going to bother. If I see it and it's starting to appear, I'm aiming for it. I'm looking at it thinking that's growing. I'm going to that. There's got to be something that's feeding it, right? And worst comes to the worst, I'll probably connect with that anyway, and I'll just be lower. I'll have to work my way back up, you know? Which happens. You get super low and you have to climb back up. That's the name of the game. So that's where I would go. But don't be worried about popping under there and bobbing it along. Just get in the climb and stay hard. Yeah? Any more questions?
Yeah, when you say that you go left and just kind of join them up to the climb street that way.
Absolutely. To me, that's too long a glide. You know, people on a great glider. You know, I mean, you're a fast, really fast.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't think that this looks. So this doesn't look like much to me, and I'm already nearly at it. Yeah, I'm almost. Right. Yeah. So, well, judging on this picture, that's not a lot higher than me already. So if I aim there. And I get in this, which doesn't look a solid cloud, I'm going there and I'm going to get, what, 500 feet on that? So, I mean, that looks like it's not very hard. Yeah, but for me here, I would be thinking, that's the best looking cloud in the picture.
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, I don't know, Ken. Look at the cloud shadow here. So that's really close, right? I mean, I don't fly a B wing, so I don't know. I do fly a good wing. It's that's a good or terrible word to use. I do fly a high-end wing. So yes, there is that to take into consideration here. But the purpose of this, fly the cloud is what I'm saying, basically. Look at the clouds, fly the cloud, yeah, basically. Sean, was there another slide? I can't remember. End of slideshow. Well, so that was that's so then we come on to the end of an XC, right? So somebody was saying the other day about they get nervous about all sorts of XC flying, but one thing is about the end of an XC. So first things first, landing out is probably really daunting for people, even if you've landed, like done 2 XCs, say, and they've only been 10K. Landed 10K from where you usually fly, you've probably seen most of the area. Once you get 30, 40K downwind, you're probably going to be thinking you might be landing in, like playing fields or a common ground or somewhere where you're not used to landing. It's not going to necessarily be a lovely field that you're used to landing, the bottom landing field or on the top of milk or something. It's going to be a completely different scenario. So when you first begin, put landing out of your mind until you're on your final approach to land. Until you're setting up your foot. Don't think about the landing all day. Don't think about, other than you're putting a goal in, when you put your goal in, please don't put your goal over a town until you're a bit more experienced. Right? Think about where the town is. Give yourself a mile walk and land in some big playing fields rather than put it over a town and scrape yourself into a town and not have somewhere to land. Right? Try and set your on Google Earth or something, however you do it. try and put it on a suitable ground. But other than that, the moment you take off, don't even think about your landing until you're thinking you're going to land. I'm not going to be an hour into my XC thinking, oh, where am I going to land when I get there? I don't care. It's not relevant to me yet because I don't know where there is, right? So when you start out and you're not putting goals in, let's say, and you're just trying to fly as far as you can, take off and try to fly as far as you can. And when you get to where as far as you can is coming to an end, think about where you're going to land then. So if you've got 1,000 feet left, you might start thinking about, all right, okay, so if I keep going there 1,000 feet, if I don't get a climb off that town, I'm in a lot of trouble. Don't go over the town. If you're looking, you're thinking, cricket pitch there, football pitch, blah, 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 yeah, I can make that glide. I go to the left, I might get the climb, but if I don't get the climb, I'm going to be in trouble. Go, get your landing set up then. Don't put yourself in trouble until you're a bit more experienced. Well, don't ever put yourself in trouble, really, but until you're a bit more experienced and you know how to make decisions, that's when you decide where you're going to land. Don't make the fear of where you're going to land be the reason you don't go anywhere in the first place. Because no shadow of a doubt, the best place to land is back on top of the hill, which is why triangles are the best thing to do. Because back on top of the hill means you can walk your car and you can drive home easy. But the point of XC is to leave the hill. So don't even think about where you're going to land until you've done your XC. Go and fly, start flying. Don't make any silly decisions. Don't do anything stupid. Don't push it too far. But when you know you're coming down, set up your landing and take up your landing. It's going to be 9 times out of 10. If you've done it properly, you're going to land in it's going to be a non-event. You're going to land in a suitable field, in a suitable area, in a good time of day, and you're going to land, that's it. Easy. It's only when you start not thinking about it at the end or creaking it out or thinking about it too soon. I'm going to land there. I'm definitely going to land there. Then you land, then you head towards it. Then you start to get a climb. Shall I get this climb? Oh, I'll go this. Oh, actually, I'm not going to climb. Oh, I was going to land. And you fly straight for a climb. It's perfectly viable because you had it in your head that that's where you're going to land. Your landing's the end of your XC. Don't be stupid about it, but honestly, make sure it's the end of your XC. Don't think about it all the way through your XC. Don't worry about it. Don't put that at the end of the day. Same as your retrieve. Look, has anyone in the room who's gone XC ever spent the night out because they didn't get a lift back or couldn't get home? You don't count.
I think James had spent the night somewhere around.
Yeah. So Charles Norwood once landed. The trains were cancelled from Bristol and he had to stay in London. Boo-hoo. Like, it's not, I mean, you stayed in a hotel. There's nobody, you're not trapped out overnight, are you? When I've landed in the middle of Wales, Booniesville, 40-minute walk, I'm on a road, got my thumb out, someone starts and picks you up. Right? It's that, it's not ever going to be so terrifying or so bad. You land, you pack your glider, you start hitchhiking. For me, it's one of my favorite parts because XC flying is cool. It's XC flying. Getting home is an adventure. Landing out in the middle of nowhere is an adventure. Meeting someone new in your car who you got to explain the fact that you took off on a bit of rag from a hill that didn't have an engine on it, and you didn't jump out of a plane, and you didn't run off of a cliff, and you've got to go through this story that you're going to tell 1,000,000 times for your whole XC flying career. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's why I started. I picked up the guy. It's a big accent. Well, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
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 I'm from where? Because it was round here and from, Southwest Wales.
Yeah, it's
You flew over the seven.
you take it you take it for granted a bit. We take it for granted how insane it is what we do, you know. So when you land in a car, when you get a lift in a car with someone, you see their face and you get to explain everything that you've just been through. It's amazing. Don't let the fear of getting home be the reason you don't leave the hill. Honestly, XC flying is a huge ball ache. It's nothing but that. It's a massive pain in the ass. No one cares if you're good at it. No one cares if you win the league. None of it matters. It's only something for you to do. But man, is it awesome. It is absolutely awesome. If you are an XC pilot and you like it, just get away from the hill. Don't let anything else concern you. Somebody says to me, what about eating in flight? Don't even think about it. Like, sometimes I eat in flight. If I get 5 hours in, sometimes I'll eat. But I mean, I did a 7.5 hour flight. I didn't even pee. Like, you just, if I eat, sometimes I might eat and sometimes I won't eat. One thing I always do, with unequivocally, I always have a drink with me. And in my water, I always put an electrolyte tablet. If I'm on a long flight, sometimes if you get low in the summer, if you keep getting low, it can be hot. And then you get climb back up again and you get a bit sweaty, you get a bit sick. I've always got electrolyte in my water, in my camelback, every single time. If I think I'm flying like 3 hours or more, definitely. I've always got it in because I've lost concentration and I get a little bit bored sometimes. You get a little bit... Yeah.
Because I've lost several flights where you just kind of switch off after that 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. You... Yeah.
They don't work. You can't be in that.
Yeah, no, Kirsty's. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, so I in the last 6 years, I've never peed in a pee tube. I've used pee condoms, I've used nappies, pads, everything. The other day we were flying and we were 2.5 hours in on that big flight. I was like, I need to pee so bad, guys. Oh, I need to pee so bad. It was freezing cold as well. So we carry on flying and then getting that horrible climb off of 4 marks, climb to base. Like, yes, I was like, I think I can pee. And I peed and it was amazing and I landed. But I broke the seal because the next day I peed 3 times. And now, after 6 or 7 years, however long it is I'm XC flying, I can now pee. I can now pee in the air, right? So, and you'll be surprised what a relief, how much my flying changed within 10 minutes. Oh, massively. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't eat unless I've got a really big flight. I eat before I fly and stuff. I don't eat unless there's a massive flight. I've always got something there. Always got like a flapjack or something. I don't, if I get 5 hours in, I might have a little bite or something. But then everyone's different, right? So always have something just in case you want to. I always have water. Because when I fly, I like to have water. And if you get a little, so you get a little moment, you get a little bit of squeaky bum moment, you know, you get like a little tuck or something, like, woo! Sometimes having that drink is just enough to take it out of your mind. You get fixated on these little things that might happen, or these little scary things, or you get low and you get into this little snotty climb and you stick with it and you start to sweat a little bit and it gets in your head, and then have a little sip of drink with some flavor in it, and it's just enough to take my brain out of it. Pull me back into the fact I'm flying. A little taste in my mouth, you know, of the drink. That little drink. Also, if you do land out and you do got an hour in the sun before you get a lift, 2 liters of water with me, a litre of water with me, got something with me, you know? And it's surprising how that'll make the difference to whether you want to go XC flying again if you're dehydrated and you haven't had a drink for 4 hours. So yeah, I always have water with me every time that I fly, and it helps for ballast. But I always have water with me. I'm not too bothered about, you know, polo, stuff like that. They're really good as well. Sometimes it's a distraction. Put them in, something like a mint or something you can pop in your mouth. But yeah, other than that, none of this counts. You don't need to heal, right? So that realistically for me is everything that I do. And it's not, there's way better pilots than me. There's, you know, more consistent pilots than me. I just talk a lot, so that's why I'm here, I guess. So any questions? Anything anybody? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what. So last week it was even like 11 o'clock. It was like most of the pilots arrived, and there's the old pretty towering view that comes out. And it was fairly, like there were some places where there's like kind of blue sky between, you can see it. Some of it was just kind of a bit stratus and you just kind of a bit embedded.
Yeah.
How do you learn like when's too much?
So do you want me to give you my honest answer, or do you want me to give you an answer that I should put on Telegram?
The honest one.
There's probably not a cloud that's going to give you any hassle if you can fly that day. Stop being scared of all these massive clouds. If the clouds are that big, you're probably not going to be out anyway. If the clouds are to the point that they're going to be really dangerous, you're probably not going to be out, right? There's some big ass clouds. You're not going to thermal up into them. You're not going to go anywhere near them. You're going to be well away from them, right? It's not all this towering QNIMs and stuff like. Listen, I've never flown under clouds where I thought I might die. John, have you ever been like, don't go out on those days, do you? No. If there's thunder and lightning, you're probably, I mean, I've flown in thunder and lightning because Wayne Seeley's an idiot and he dragged me out. So It was lightning. I was like, Wayne, did you see that lightning? He went, yeah, I'm spiraling down. And that was literally how it went, right? But generally, that's once ever. Like, me and Idris have flown through snowstorms. Just the clouds were big and stuff, and we got snowed on. We've been flying, and Alex Coleman will tell you a story. I'll retell it for you now. He's in this bus stop. They landed somewhere. I bombed, and they'd landed somewhere. Alex landed, started getting rained on. He sat in a bus stop with his glider all packed up, peeing down with rain. Idris comes by flying in the rain. And he's like, Wes, I'm not kidding you. He said you could wring his glider out. He said, so he retold the story to you maybe the other day. He literally in the rain flew past the bus stop. He said, worst rain I've ever seen anyone fly it. Don't fly in those conditions. Like, definitely don't fly in those conditions. But the other day we were out and I'm flying and everyone's going on about how scary it is and there's this and there's that. And it was off of Sellesley and it was beautiful. It was like lush. Got to Tetbury and there was a big bank of black, horrible cloud. I was like, this is the end of this. So I'm just trying to cross wind now and get away from it. I know I can't get through it. I know what's going to happen in a minute. I don't want to be anywhere near it. Start flying away from it. All of a sudden it starts peeing down. I see the rain. I spiral down. I land and I just stuff on my kit. Didn't get that. You know, one drop of rain on me. I missed it. But you're some sort of idiot if you go flying on a day where there's tune-ins that you're going to fly close enough to that you're going to get sucked in. Everyone heard the story of, was it she the Venezuelan woman who got sucked into the cloud on the comp? German. Is it in Argentina or wherever it was?
She's German. And met her
Yeah, was it in Argentina or somewhere?
No, it was in Australia.
Yeah. So, right. So she got like, she gets sucked in and she gets taken on, like, has that ever happened in the UK to anyone ever? Trust me, as big an idiot as you are in this room, I'm probably the biggest, and I haven't done anything that stupid yet. Like, it has ever happened here. So there are conditions you definitely should not go flying in, 100%. Yeah, definitely. But that's why I said, like, what was my first parameter I set out when we were looking for weather? Is it raining? Right? Because, listen, it's going to make your day horrible and not everything else. Don't worry about if it's dangerous. Drying your kit out in your front room for 2 days is crap. So that was my first parameter. Other than that, all these people who don't even fly XC on Telegram posting about, well, you shouldn't go XC because the clouds are big. Shut up. So I don't share stuff on it on Telegram. Like, just shush. Are other people going flying? Yeah. Are they idiots? Have they died yet? No. Maybe it's far away.
Right. So it's not that like if anybody's flying and you're still like a novice, then it's still probably safe to fly, rather than like you're like.
We got to change the way you speak. 2 seconds. We can't use safe to fly because your safe to fly is not my safe to fly. So safe to fly is the wrong word to say there. Is it safe for you to fly? I don't know. I've done free SRVs and flown in comps all over the world. My safe to fly is going to be different to yours. So I'm not going to say if I'm flying, it's going to be safe for you to fly. Definitely not. What I'm going to say is if I'm flying and pushing on my XE, listen, I don't want to get sucked into a cloud here by lightning. I want it just as little as you do. I can guarantee you that. If I'm pushing on with my XC and I'm flying, chances are it's not dangerous. Chances are really that it's not dangerous. Once you know people in the community, you'll know if they're an idiot and whether they should be trusted. Because generally they're not in the community for very long, right? Like, I might be considered a bit of a ballsy pilot. But if you fly with me, I generally don't push the envelope too much. I'm not flying in really radical, dangerous crap. So I've been sucked into a few clouds I got too close to. And when I say sucked in, I mean, I'm going up at 3 meters a second when I don't want to. I'm on 4 bar to the edge. I'm not coming out at 12,000 feet. Like, it's not, you know.
What about mountains? Yeah, that's the only time
I'm not your guy to ask. I'm not your guy to ask, but we're talking about UK XE flying, so it's irrelevant, really. I'm not your guy to ask. I've flown some mountain flying. There's way more people more qualified. I don't know what weather cells are like in the Alps. It's not my thing, really. It's just not. I couldn't give you advice. My advice is speak to someone who flies there regularly. Yeah,
that's when I've seen like fairly sudden, like big.
Oh, yeah, mountain air, yeah, it's a complete, each valley can generate its own weather system almost. You're not, like, what are we going to fly here? The Telgar Valley? Well, it's not going to generate its own weather system. We know it's either going to be crap or good as well. Like, it's not, we haven't got really much to worry about. Scotland can get a little bit fruity, but even so, you're not really going to get surprise turn around massive, great big thunderous clouds. It's just not the same thing. So for local and for UK XC flying, I think way too much fear mongering is out there. And Nick, for someone like yourself, everyone really, get out on the hill, be on the hill. Be on the hills where it looks marginal. See if you want to fly. If you want to fly, try and fly. If you enjoy it, keep doing that. If you don't do it again. And then if you do enjoy it, you might find, oh, actually, my parameters can be really extended or wound back in. But don't listen to your mate who got involved in an incident and don't want to do that. Or don't listen to the 500-hour pilot who's going to push the boundaries and really go. Just you go out, you see what others are doing, and you base what you're going to do on that until you get enough experience to decide this is how I fly, this is how I fly. I mean, let me tell you something about Ken. Ken was one of the most ballsy out there blokes you'll ever meet. He'll tell you some stories, share a drive to Scotland with him and give him a bottle of wine, and you'll hear some amazing stories. The guy's insane, mental, like things he's done on a hang glider, incredible. But look, he's getting on a bit now. His propensity for danger is a lot different. He's not going to push, he's not going to push the boundaries, and he's going to look at decisions that I make, which are nowhere near as bad as ones he made. He's going to think, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. Yeah. But of course he's going to do that because he's gathered, everything's changed for him now, okay? But when he was my age or your age, he was doing things, I guarantee you, the stupidest thing in the world that you've done. He'll outdo you, I'm telling you. The guy his stories are amazing. Spend time with him. His stories are amazing. But he's not going to tell you to do anything. He's certainly not. Yeah, you just have to learn, and you have to establish what is suitable for you, how far you want to take it. And that might mean that you take it too far once. Do you know what I mean? It might be that way. Hopefully it won't be. But you can't listen to what other people, because what you do is you end up with people with no XC experience telling you when you should be flying XC based on what their book told them. Or because Kelly, in his book about the Zillertal Valley, said that you shouldn't fly when there's thunder. But he's not flying over RAF Lynham on a day with 12-mile-an-hour winds. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about reading books, it's about going out there. Listen, the greatest piece of advice, Alex Coltman's the guy who says it. If it's not raining and you can go out, go out. That's it. Until you have enough experience to say, I should go out. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's pretty basic, but why did you declare goals? What I was saying, you didn't really do that.
Yeah, no. So I just got asked why we, Fiona just asked why we declare goals. Because I want to score more points than everybody else in the league.
How does it work?
So declared straight line goal, you get 1.25% of your overall task. So like the other day, we all flew down to Arundel, declared goal 153. I thought Ollie had bombed, climb up, I glide, I thought 18k short. Ollie lands, he gets 190 points, I got 136. And he landed 18k further on than me.
Well, I actually held the winners once, but
Yeah.
We were allowed to fly over it.
Yeah.
Continue on.
Yeah, we can do that. So I did that the other day. So I declared Malvern the other day. Well, no, Alex declared Malvern. I wanted to fly to Worcester. He said, no, let's put Malvern. So Alex declared Malvern. None of us thought we'd get there. So I made it into Malvern, climbed high, and I looked at Worcester, and I thought it's a direct train from there. I can make that. And I flew on to Worcester. Just so happens that my declared was still worth 3 more points than my actual flight, so I put my declared into the league. But yeah, you can still do that. And triangles, you get 3 times your declared triangle. An undeclared triangle, you get 2 points, 2.5, 2.7, 2.25 triangle. But they are just, for me, I declare goals. There's no, I only started doing the league last year. I didn't do it for 4 years. It's just, I like that. I've said I'm going to land there. I'm going to do it. 400 meters, 400 meter radius, yeah. So it's 800 meters in every other league and every other comp across the world. 400 meters in the UK XC League because I lost a flight due to it last year. All my, yeah, radius, sorry. Yeah, 800 meter radius everywhere else, 400 meter radius here. UK XC League's 400 meter radius. So I lost a flight because of it last year, and every instrument said I'd close the triangle, hit the orange, and I hadn't. Short, and I lost flight with it. Yeah, theirs is the only one that's different. Quote me, you can don't quote me on that. Check the diameters of the radiuses in the circle. Yeah, it might be that. It might be 800 meters. Look, I'm sure, but theirs is smaller than everywhere else, basically, because every other place I put it, like X contest, that told me I'd closed it. All my instruments told me I'd closed it. Their turn points are smaller, so I haven't closed it. So, yeah. Yeah.
You're saying that if you are in a climb,
Yeah.
you would ditch that if it's slower than another one.
Yeah.
But like, as I've never like I just wonder why don't you just put it all the way up before you do?
Okay, so I was just asked for the people there if I said that I would ditch a climb if excuse me, if I was in a climb and I thought there was a faster climb, I said that I would ditch it to get to the faster climb, and I was asked why. That's basically your question, yeah. So I want to go up as quick as I can so I can go forward. So if I'm going up at say 1 meter a second, and I can see you just over here going up at screwing up at like 2.5 meters a second, you're going up 2.5 times as fast as me. So I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get into your climb. I'm going to get as high as I would have done because they're both going to go to the same height. They're both go to cloud base, give or take 100 meters, 100 feet or so now. So I'll get to that climb and I'll get in that and I'll get high as fast as I can and push on. So I can move on. If I'm just flying XC for my PB, maybe I'll just sit in those climbs, but you'll fly a lot slower in the day. And then you have a lot more potential for the day to end. So when I say end, I don't mean that the sun will set quicker, just like the clouds might start dying off sooner, or you miss lift cycles. So if I'm going up at 1 meter, now I won't just do that by thinking this cloud's better. I will have to have a sign. If I'm climbing in 1 meter a second climb and I see a seagull go rocketing up, I'll keep my eye on it for a couple of turns. If it outclimbs me, I'll go straight to it. If I'm flying with a group of pilots, when we fly, we're very rarely behind each other. So what we'll do is if I'm behind Alex by even half a K, I will not be behind him, I'll be to the side. And hopefully you'll fan out and you'll cover 2 kilometers of airspace as you're flying. Then if Rob gets a climb over here, we'll all just plummet straight over to Rob and get the climb. If Alex gets a climb and Rob gets a climb, you'll go to whoever's closest and you'll keep your eye on the other person. If there's more than one person climbing, I guarantee you everyone in this climb is watching this person climb, and everyone in this climb is watching this person climb. Until whoever's climbing first, he'll ignore the other person, and that person will come over to him. You just get in the fastest way up as possible, and you get as high as you can, as fast as you can. Okay, but don't do that on a punt. Take every climb to base unless you are sure that another climb is going up quicker. Any more questions? Okay, well, thanks very much for listening to my dribble, I guess.